I didn't think about this, that our since we smoke outside, of course, when it's really cold, the fat wants to, the grease doesn't want to drain out the pipe because it's frozen.
Yeah.
So I was out there with a hair dryer and like just anything I could just like get in there. And I'm like, it's like 3:30 in the morning. I'm just like with a hair dryer.
See, we're rolling, so I'm going to leave that in because I think that's hilarious. Welcome back to the tasting room. Chris Emmons in the house from Oakhart BBQ. You can see right here. We're alley neighbors. They're just down the alley from the Grass Fire headquarters over here. How are you, man?
Doing great.
I didn't know you were a Buffalo Bills fan.
I am.
Are you a New Yorker?
No.
Okay.
I actually, so I don't know how old you are. I'm 42.
I'm 38, so we're close.
So
we're close.
like when starter jackets were like the rage when I was in 7th grade, when I went to get one, all they had was a Buffalo Bills one when I was in 7th grade. And like it was more about the starter jacket than it was about the team.
Oh, 100%. I had a LA Rams one. Just because I like the colors.
They all looked cool.
Yeah.
But so like the pullover one?
Yep.
So I got the Bills one. Zip. And then, I mean, I grew up like an OSU fan, so Thurman Thomas was with the Bills. So I could.
That makes sense.
I could attach.
Makes sense, yeah.
And then they were good, but just not good enough for Super Bowl wins.
See, I grew up in Dallas, so I apologize because there were a few of those that were our fault. Yeah.
For being so young, I remember them very well.
Yeah.
And so I was a Bills fan since then. So we had the rough years and coming out of the darkness.
Yeah, no kidding. Josh Allen is on one of my fantasy teams. I love that guy.
I wish that I would have been like, when they drafted him, like, oh, I know this is going to work out. But I was like,
Yeah. Well, because he was from...
Played at Wyoming.
Wyoming, that's right.
I think that was the only offer he got to play college ball.
Yeah.
So, like, that's it.
A bunch of people missed on that.
Yeah, and, you know, at the time, everyone's like, oh, Josh Rosen's a better draft pick than Josh Allen. I mean, now we see he's been on 17.
Right, that did not pan out well, that hot take.
No.
Yeah.
But I think Josh Allen was perfect for, like, the Buffalo, like, working class. You know, it's cold.
Yeah,
and everyone's like, it's just blue collar, and he was the right pick. They did the right thing.
Barbecue would do well in Buffalo.
You would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, you know, it's kind of like a seasonal thing around here, but I think it'd be great in the winter. I mean, I think it's great in the winter.
See,
me too.
Adam Green and I had that conversation. It was like, I don't understand. So you're third in the barbecue month as far as the order. So we had Adam was first up. Donnie Teal was last week. You and then Justin Carroll will be on from 1907 to wrap it up. But Adam and I were talking. I don't understand why barbecue is a summer seasonal thing because there's nothing worse to me than, especially here, it's 115 degrees outside,
or eating heavy.
Yeah, and you're standing in front of a hot smoker or a grill. Like I don't get it.
Even just eating it, if someone else is cooking, I think like the heavy meal the barbecue can be is like in the wintertime feels good, whereas in the summer, like, I don't want to like eat that and then drag myself outside into the heat again.
Yeah. I
mean, first, it's good all the time, but I mean, I think winter for me, it makes just as much sense as the spring or the fall.
I'm with you. So let's talk about your. I'm very curious in the barbecue world. Like, you know, Donnie got into it from doing competitions. Adam got into it. It was his wife's dad's business that he bought. How did you get into the barbecue world?
Well, both Brian's the other owner. Okay. We've worked in restaurants, whether it be barbecue, pizza, all kinds of stuff our whole lives. We played music. So, when we weren't playing music,
in the same band together?
Restaurants. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Because restaurants are flexible, so we could do that when we were
Let me pause you. What kind of music?
It was metal.
Okay, metal.
For years and years. So turns out it wasn't what I like initially always wanted to play, but it was what I was good at.
Now you don't play with Chris from LaSalle's, do you?
No.
Okay.
I don't really play much anymore. I just sleep in between shifts.
Fair. But which we'll get to in a minute, your schedule. Yeah.
So we worked in restaurants between gigs basically. So it was, perfect, flexible schedules and all that. We wanted to do competition stuff, and that's how a lot of people get into it. So we worked on stuff and we had some ribs that we thought were amazing, and chicken competition, it is what it is. It's kind of odd. But we didn't have a brisket that we loved. And this is 8 years ago. And it's going to lead back into something that always comes up, which is Franklin and Austin and Texas.
I was going to ask you about that too. Yep.
So we were just kind of like Googling around, like best brisket, rubs, blah, 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 anything. And what kept popping up 7 years ago was Aaron Franklin. And this is
Franklin's barbecue.
Almost 8 years ago, especially 8 years ago. Now it's kind of like, and it was still like kind of hot. Like it wasn't new in Austin to people, but it was starting to get new to everybody else before like the PBS thing. And so we took a trip down there, and funny enough, we didn't check, the 1 week they go on vacation in the summer is when we showed up.
Oh no.
But it was awesome because there's so many
there's
good
La
places
Barbecue
there.
and
we actually went to La Barbecue.
Yeah.
It was like their first trailer.
That place changed my life. I love that place.
one of our favorite pit masters and one of the dudes who's kind of like doesn't get all the shine that Aaron Franklin does is John Lewis. And he was at La Barbecue then, or he had just left La Barbecue maybe. And another dude was the pit master there. I believe he's one of the owners of 2M in San Antonio.
Okay.
And so we had, I mean, this is like home runs.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
So we ended up at, the first place we went was Micklethwait, which was a little trailer right down from Franklin. So that was where I had my first beef rib, first brisket, like real, like the hearty, like Texas brisket. And so our first trip, it was always supposed to be like a day. So we ended up 2 places, came home. We eventually made it back over there.
Yeah.
I mean, and so I guess we can say our goal is after we went to Micklethwait, we're like, it was a little old trailer, refurbed, cool music, patio. It was just, the vibe was great. So we're like, why? This couldn't be a lot of money to start this up. And that was our first thought, is let's do a trailer. Not a truck, because I mean that's money, but a trailer you can. But funny enough, trailers are expensive too.
Yeah,
which is why we didn't really do it, because the financing of it was just so bad. I couldn't pull the trigger. I was just like, I can't. Yeah, I can't sign on that. But our initial thing was to do just a small little, find a permanent spot for a trailer. Turns out, you think about it later, like just what I was talking about in the cold, just cooking in the cold, much less having a trailer and all that. Like it would have been rough.
Yeah,
it wouldn't have worked out. And especially now I see the hours that go into it. We were just, playing on like us and one other person. It was like, it wasn't going to work. And the trailer probably wouldn't have made enough money. So it's good that years and years passed before we got this opportunity, because we got a lot better at cooking. And
so during that interim, were you competition stuff?
Oh, we actually never really did.
You never did?
We never really entered, because we kind of got into more of just like traditional, just trying to make awesome briskets or beef ribs or things that we had never really done a whole lot,
Sure.
But yeah, we never really embraced competition. It looks really fun and stressful and crazy.
If those two things can be.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to take everything too serious, so I think it would be mostly just stressful.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like an all or nothing kind of dude, so I'd be in it and it would probably.
I get that. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way with this place. Like, it just carries home, and it's always on my mind. And
so, how'd you find that brick and mortar down the alley?
I mean, crazy enough. So my buddy owned, or he didn't own. He was leasing a building for his CrossFit gym, Oakhart CrossFit downtown, which is now he's Midtown. But there was a building next to him that was empty. So I was talking to him, and that one, and so we looked at it and everything, and turns out the same landlord was renovating this building on 3rd, and after thinking about what we could do with this building versus what was already set up there, this would be much easier to build to our liking rather than convert that one. And it was just everything. The parking was better, and that's funny to say because you know what it looks like. But parking's like our thing, or our biggest struggle.
But I feel like it almost like every barbecue spot I feel like has some quirk.
Right. I mean, like if you talk Franklin of all places, like the actual parking, I think that is theirs is like, I think it's bigger now, but like the first time I went there, the spots that were actually theirs was
not a lot.
I believe it was pretty small.
Yeah.
Now there's
they got a lot, and I mean the line just snakes
or
through
even
it.
Even like going to Micklethwait, we park on the street, walk down, like. But yeah, if we take any flack every once in a while, it's kind of like your parking lot sucks. It's like,
sorry,
it's bigger than a lot.
Because you can park across Utica in a couple of those spots,
I'm
right?
sure people get sick of me like posting that, like overflow parking across Utica. But it really, if you park across Utica, you can walk straight to the front door. Yeah, faster than you can.
What people don't know is you could park in that big parking lot right there.
Yeah,
but I don't want people to know that. So
I've seen it. I've seen it a couple times. Yeah, but I mean. Yeah, it's okay. We do all right with it. It just depends. Like if everyone who comes to eat that day drives themselves, sometimes the parking lot will look like it's a madhouse inside, and it's just super casual. Right. But if people carpool, then they match each other. You know, it's a chaotic and a little bit loud in here. But there are days when the parking lot looks like you would drive by maybe a different day. When inside it's plenty of food and
makes sense.
5 people in line or something.
Makes sense. So you had years of R&D basically before you opened your doors.
And they weren't solid years. You know, it's not like we were cooking every weekend. I mean, there's probably actually like years that went by that we weren't too. Yeah. And then, I mean, really, I think with being in and out of restaurants and stuff, we learned enough of how to operate day to day. I mean, of course, we're always still learning, and there's plenty of things we didn't and don't know that we're still picking up every day. But eventually, it was just like, dude, go for it. You know what?
Yeah.
I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to lose all your money.
You got to jump in the pool eventually, right?
I mean, you really do, and
Yeah.
it's worth it. I think it's always, no matter what happens, even from here on out. I think you don't want to have the regrets.
Sure. I mean, your food's delicious. I love, and I'm a barbecue guy. I have a Pits and Spits and a Hasty Bake at home, and like what we were just talking about, I love doing it when the weather's right. I'm not going to get out there and sweat to death. But
I'm a summer person. Like I love, I don't really love the winter, but these last couple days when it's been 60s in the morning,
pretty nice.
I can't I talk a lot of trash on like the winter and like I don't want summer to end, but
you kind of
those couple mornings,
Yeah.
I have to admit, have been pretty nice to like walk out the door and not just like immediately get hit. Because I mean, the pit's 20 degrees hotter, 20, 25 than what it is outside.
And you have a big one.
Yeah, it's 1,000 gallon.
1,000 gallon.
Yeah, so if it's 105 outside, it's like 130 in there.
So that was custom made?
Yeah. Austin Smokeworks.
I was going to say down in Texas, probably. So you fashion yourself as a Texas barbecue place, right?
I mean,
or am I overstating that?
I mean, hugely inspired for sure.
Okay.
Like, because I mean, when we first started, like we didn't have bologna. We do now.
Fair.
It's one of those,
Fair.
but like,
Fair.
dude, we're in the customer service business. I mean, if people want something and they like a lot of Texas restaurants don't have a hot barbecue sauce. I mean, if you think.
It's true.
And we didn't for the first 9 months. People asked for it, and eventually, once we made one that we were happy with, like we'll roll it out. So I mean, as far as like, yes, the like brisket, Texas ribs, Texas sausage. I mean, that's what inspired us. Those are the flavors that we liked. I mean, the super simple. Like for me, that's just. I mean, I got floored by that, and I think it's kind of like I didn't grow up in barbecue. I grew up more of like grill stuff, like steaks and just I've always loved beef. So whenever I had beef that hit like steak, like that's just as good as like it's not. I mean, because brisket in my mind growing up was never that good. It was always from like a crock pot or something that was like heated
not
up in
done
foil
properly,
or
right?
something. It didn't have a lot of flavor, and so that was when everything changed. It was like, oh, that's ridiculous.
So when you say like brisket and ribs and all that are Texas, what's that mean to you? Like when you say that, are you talking mainly just rubs or how you cook it or what you cook it on?
And even like just the offside is kind of like a...
Yeah.
I mean...
But do you use post oak?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it really is Texas then.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, luckily it's easy to get. Tons of people here don't use it. So it's not a lot of fighting for it. I think some of the bigger people around here are chains, actually, like Hickory. And I know Adam, I think he uses pecan.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yes, it's pretty Texas for the most part, and that was what we were shooting for. To be honest, we have a Texas flag in there. I remember, like taking a little, like, oh, we're gonna take heat for that. I was like, it's Texas barbecue. Like, I graduated from OSU. We're all from Oklahoma. It's just like an ode to the people, who we've learned some stuff from, and who like inspired us to take the leap. And it's also kind of the culture because they do have a huge. It's a vibe down there a lot of times. I hate
100%.
that word's kind of goofy, but like you'll stand in line and it's different, you know. It's something.
I mean,
There's young people and old people. Like it's not just it's fun, you know. It's more of a. There's just a ton of people down there. That's how it works.
That is one. Like,
There's a ton of people in Austin, Texas. So,
that's very true.
So they have 15 barbecue places that all do similar things and still all do well. You know?
Right. I was going to say the reason I'm sipping this and you're not. So I'm sipping a Deadwood tumbling dice that I picked up from Emily's store, Ranch Acres, the other day. It was a barrel pick she did, I believe. It's really good. I think it's just MGP. It has 35% rye, 60% corn, and then some barley. But you're not drinking because why are you torturing yourself? What are you doing?
I'm embracing the 75 hard challenge, I guess. I'm really just trying to like get I mean, it's I think people see it as like a physical thing because you have to like work out twice a day, but really it's just it's a mental discipline thing to make yourself do the same things for 75 days.
So it's 2 workouts a day. It's no alcohol. It's a gallon of water.
Yeah, and one workout has to be outside.
Right.
So what it's a great time for that.
It's perfect for that.
December, you know, that wasn't strategic, but I'm not gonna.
I think the gallon of water would be the hardest part.
I'm awake a long time, so I can knock it out pretty easy, and it's hot, or it has been, so that's not too bad. You have to read 10 pages a day, take a progress pic every day, which is funny. Those little things sometimes are the worst because it's at the end of the day. You're like, oh, I didn't read. So you're like, and you're tired and you're just like really at the end of your day.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I've failed this before, so I know.
You're going to do it though.
I've been 34, 35 days in and you've miss one, you start over. Like if you don't take a picture of yourself that day, back to one. And that's why it's so.
I would almost make myself do the reading and the picture first thing in the morning.
That I can do the picture first thing in the morning, but once I start, like, I just go straight to work.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get up any earlier than I do.
So your schedule, you've mentioned that a couple times. Did you draw the short straw or did you want the overnight?
I'm a morning person by nature, so it just made sense. Even though this is not a morning.
I mean,
person.
I was going to say
I like 5 a.m. is great for me. Like that's when I start clicking really. I like about 5 a.m. But this is 3.
So you start.
I start the fire at 3.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I live close enough that I just get up at 2:30.
Okay.
And I try to have everything laid out.
I mean, it sounds like I was in the TV world before we opened Grass Fire, and I mean that sounds like the overnight or the morning show schedule. Like, people's alarm goes off at 2:30 to be at the station.
I see like news trucks and stuff over at across at the health department all the time. Anytime they have something that's early, I'm like, well, somebody's out. Because usually it feels like it's just me within like if I'm like a mile in any direction, it's me in the quick trip.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's nothing out. So if I hear anything, I know it's probably not good.
Right.
Which is kind of frequent.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
So how much, when you get there at 3, you start the fire, do you season your briskets like the night before to let it like set in, or do you do it
the day before?
Okay. And if this is like secrets, don't feel like you have to say
really
anything.
The night before, and it's just about, I think more than anything, it's just the convenience because I go straight onto the rib shift. So the first thing I do is season ribs.
Okay.
Put ribs on, trim ribs for the next day, and start doing prep stuff. So that's really, it's more just, and also like, who knew what? Like, so Brian's way better with briskets than I am. Like the rib world is like, the rib shift is more my world. And so it's just, it just fell that way.
It works.
Kinda. Yeah,
it works.
It works, and it's been that way since the beginning. And it just, I can't imagine doing it different. Although that's probably bad. We should. We're gonna play with some stuff. I might be training someone to take part of my shift.
No kidding.
Yeah, that's when you've made it. When you can sleep till 7. Or
would that be the trim, or would that be starting it?
Starting the fire.
Yeah.
And I'd probably still, like I said, I'll get up at 5. I'd still come in pretty early.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel like it'd be months and months before I'd let somebody on their own.
Makes sense.
Because it's so precious.
If you fuck it up, I mean, it's like.
Oh, I mean, that's the thing about the 3 a.m. thing is like, I mean, if you're an hour late, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Like I'd probably be waking up at 3 just checking the camera to make sure they were there.
Right,
like if they're not, because I just have to haul ass. Because I mean, actually, we could probably do 4 on a good day when it's warm outside. There's no problems. Nothing happens. You can do it, but we always build in, as you should, a little time for things to go wrong, like having to defrost the smoker or anything. Like come in, the power's not working. I mean, we've had that a couple times, or someone broke the thing outside and shut our power off.
We've had the same thing. Yeah.
We got spray painted on yesterday. We've had a couple windows
that's cool.
busted out. And then when the windows get busted out, of course, the alarm company calls, and it's always around 1. So it's like, I just went to bed or whatever. Like,
right.
It is what it is. And I mean, I've seen like some places have boarded up and just so it doesn't happen. Like the emptier buildings, and Taco Mayo's had boards on their windows for.
They really have.
Like
I've noticed that. Yeah.
And those got knocked out, I think, and they just like.
Is that why?
Put the boards up there and spray painted like open. Like
we're still open.
Yeah, like still open, just plywood on the walls. But yeah, and the spray paint wasn't too bad. It wasn't. The artist
turn it into some art.
He also got across the street, and I saw somewhere downtown that I saw the same art.
Okay.
And it's not. It wasn't a huge tag that was like multicolor that would be hard to get rid of. So
right.
I think a couple hours of power washing, they took care of it. But
that's funny.
It's part of it.
Yeah, I guess it is.
I think our first break-in was a few months after being open. It was just like,
what are you trying to take? Are you assuming there's cash or you want food?
Yeah, they took the register, like the cash box, but there's like nothing in it. Everyone knows there's nothing in it. But the problem is that when they ripped it out, it ripped the cables. Like,
I remember I tried to eat the next day and like none of the stuff was working.
Yeah, and it's those cables, you can't just go buy them,
Right.
of course, because they're like, they come with. But luckily, when High was here, Nick had an old one.
That's right.
And we were only closed for like a day because we borrowed that from him. And that was freaking huge. Because
Yeah.
we didn't get our new cables for 5 days. And we expedite, everything.
And that was
did
pretty
everything.
early on in your deal.
I mean, we were open 3 weeks and then closed for 2 weeks because staff had, there was a lot of COVID in our building.
Okay.
So yeah, we were open for 3 weeks. It was going great. Closed for 2 weeks.
That's a gut punch.
And then we were back for like a month and something, and then the cables get ripped out. And that was back in the time, I don't know, things have changed a lot. Back even then when like the COVID outbreak kind of thing, you're like kind of hesitant to even talk about it because it still just felt like
a stigma or something. Yeah.
Yeah, because we were just like, unfortunately, due to blah, 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 we have to.
Yeah.
And really just, and ultimately you end up saying what's going on, but you just at first you're just like, ugh. Because it wasn't due to like being irresponsible. It's not an awesome subject.
No,
but,
it just happens.
There's just
Yeah.
not much you can do about it.
Yeah.
I mean, you do your best, and
It's still weird now. Like I was on a plane Saturday and Sunday this past weekend going down to see family in Dallas and hearing people. Now, luckily, the guy that was hacking up along on the plane was wearing a mask, but now there's questions of how much do they actually work and do and all that.
Yeah.
But it's still weird to me. Like I don't think it should feel weird, but it still feels weird to be on a plane without a mask.
Yeah, and it got really deep in me personally. The cautious side.
Yeah.
It maybe even a little too far. I mean, I don't know if you can be too cautious, but I mean, and like when you're in a man, like your staff, you're supposed to look out for them, and you want the best for everybody.
I remember your whole staff wore masks.
Yeah, for a long time, and it was even like, and we still had people, outside of work, calling like, hey, I'm positive, and I was like, well, maybe we all didn't get it because we're wearing them.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe not, or whatever. And
Who
it was
kno-
just like, so it was really hard to even like say like, okay, let's take it off, because after that 2 weeks, I mean, you think about you lost your momentum that you just got.
That's a horrible time for that to happen.
No, I mean, it was
Not that there's a good time, but that's a horrible time for the business.
It was pretty rough because we just started it was 3 weeks and it was going, I mean, as well as we had hoped. It was when we weren't like lines out the door or anything, but we were building, and the 2 weeks you shut down, you lose that money, and the worst part is you throw away all your product. Like I tried to give some, like I think maybe at that time Tulsa, like Philip with Tulsa Brisket Company, maybe he took a couple briskets off of me, and I think we tried to see if Justin, I can't remember if he needed any, but we were just like,
just take them. Yeah.
Then you end up having to rebuy it, and I'm sure we can talk about the price of this crap too. So I mean,
that's why I stopped cooking brisket at home.
It's insane.
It's not worth it for me, a single guy, to spend that much money on a brisket.
It's still crazy for.
Is it in the fours now?
It depends what you want.
Well, that's a valid point.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the fours at Sam's, and it's in the four for like a prime that isn't as just not. There's different levels and different companies. So like there's some that are just under 5, but they're just not the ones we're proud of. You know? And they're still nice briskets, but like to really. We really want to shine, and it's just, it sucks because you have to spend all this money.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can cook a good brisket, but we want to cook a great brisket, and you're spending. I mean, you can spend almost 6 right now.
It's unreal.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're talking I think this is like pre-COVID. I think the same brisket was barely over 4, and that was for like a really nice brisket.
Yeah. I remember Sam's pre-COVID. I mean, it was in the upper 2s, low 3s when it was on sale.
When we first got our first quote, or started got hooked up with, we used Benny Keith and Cisco both, and we're talking pork was like barely over $1. It's it's over $2 everywhere for pork butt. I mean, Sam's is over $2 on a pork butt. So it's crazy. That used to be like the cheap meat that you could.
Yeah.
A lot of people do.
I love pork butt.
I don't mind it.
Yeah.
I go through phases in and out of what I care about. I usually have like a bite of brisket every day because we just like mess with the ratios and seasoning. It never really ends for us, and I'm assuming that's everybody's thing.
Do you change your rubs?
We have changed.
Or do you maybe same ingredients but levels?
We've done that, and we've like a little bit more of pepper. We've messed with that. I mean, that's almost like always tweaking.
Yeah.
You probably can't. I mean, we were probably the only ones that notice. You know.
Well,
For the
if
most
you eat
part.
there enough, or if you eat there day to day,
Yeah. And then, but like, you have to eat a ton of brisket to notice. Like, I think you used a little.
it's a valid point.
But I mean, you can definitely notice too much salt or too much pepper.
too much salt
really.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've heard like some people like real like too much pepper. It's like spicy. We don't get that, but I've heard that.
I'm a black pepper guy.
I like it all.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
But yeah, we've tweaked on brisket, but just like it's so minor, and then we notice it. We can notice
Yeah.
it. But
So if you're true Texas barbecue when it comes to the brisket, and you're modeling after Franklin, do you use the Lori seasoning salt?
we have and we
Yeah.
don't. We do and we don't. You know, we
Yeah.
have and we haven't.
Because
Like
that's the secret recipe that he used to say salt and pepper.
Yeah, that's what they call like the worst kept secret in
Right.
Texas barbecue.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so we have and we haven't. Like I said, we've tried stuff like closer, you know, like just, I mean, it's all simple. Whether it's like, no matter what we're trying, none of it's stuff you don't already have under your cabinet, like with like onion powder or garlic
You're not
powder.
inventing spices
There's
over there.
nothing wild. Yeah, there's no coriander
Saffron
or something.
brisket.
But you know, some people have, and like I'm a Neander. I'm a caveman, and like I'm just not that.
I think
complex.
I mispronounced it. I think I said Lori's seasoning. It's Lowry's.
Oh, Lowry's,
right?
yeah.
Lowry's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I caught myself when I said.
Yeah,
it.
but that was the funny thing is now that's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows all about that. And when we were trying to figure it out years ago, like we could not
because it
figure out-
wasn't just
I was
salt and pepper, right?
And we dug around, and this is like before there was like you dug around, and we found an interview with John Lewis when he was at La Barbecue, and his rub had it, and that's the first we ever heard about it. And then some years now, it's like everybody talks about it.
Yeah.
But
Because prior to knowing you could use it for barbecue, it was really used for like Cajun type cooking, right?
Yeah, and I think like I don't think
Seafood
I ever
stuff
used it anymore on like French fries or something.
Yeah,
like that.
stuff like
Probably
that.
like that.
Yeah.
Growing up, I don't think I ever used it in. But I'm no chef or anything. Like I don't have a lot of skills in that.
Right.
Like I'm barbecue dude, and that's about it. I like to grill. Like I love steaks, but
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything better. Like when I think about like
Very true.
Yeah, that's all I really want. I could eat steak like 4 days a week if it was. It's also extremely expensive right now.
Well, you can't do
too.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. But
So that's
nothing hits home like a good steak.
right. So being so Texas influenced, it had to mean a lot when you were in Texas Monthly.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Because for guys that don't know, I mean, that is, I don't even know how to describe. I don't know what an equivalent would be.
It's
anywhere else in the country, really.
And I don't really think it's hard to explain to somebody like what a heavy hit that is.
It's
like
massive.
It's huge. Like Daniel Vaughn is like huge. I mean,
Right.
like, there's no one like him anywhere. The rights. His
trying
job
to
is
think
barbecue.
like what would a comp be? It's almost like a New York Times review back in the day, maybe, or something like that,
Something like
for like a fine dining
yeah.
restaurant.
It's kind of hard to, and it's even like it's when you try to explain to somebody like it's crazy that we were in there because I mean all this like we just started driving down there and like trying to like figure like watch what people were doing and learn stuff, and then like that came out a year like our 1 year anniversary that came out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I was like I did not expect that.
So how did you find out? Did they interview you guys, or did
Yeah,
they?
he,
Because I didn't actually get to read the article yet.
So the day that Daniel was in town, he went to 1907. Then he came over to our place, and spoke briefly. But he was on another trip and just happened to be coming through, I guess. And then he sent us an Instagram message like, "Can I call you on Monday?" And like, sure. Had no idea like what it was really gonna. If it was gonna be an Instagram post or something.
Sure.
And then I think he told us that it was going to be in Texas Monthly, and we're like, oh my gosh, definitely unexpected.
Yeah.
A lot of it's unexpected. We've never done this before. So even like when like Tulsa World came, it was like, oh wow, and that really helped us a lot. That was a big one for us. That's when we jumped a little bit.
Was that a Scott Cherry review?
No.
No.
Oh my gosh, blank.
It'll come later. Yeah.
But I remember a couple of people came and were talking to me like, we came because this guy doesn't say nice stuff unless it's true. And I was like, awesome. And that really that was our first difference maker in town. And he's like, you're probably going to get quite a bit busier. We're like, okay. So we load like one more brisket,
Right.
2 more slabs of ribs. And that's when that 12-15 thing we were talking about earlier.
Oh, yeah.
That was a couple of those days. And I was like, I can't believe that. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
again, like.
That's the crazy thing to me about the barbecue world is, I mean, Donnie does the same thing. I think everyone kind of does the same thing because barbecue is such a, you need to have it hot and fresh to an extent. Like it can be in the warmer for a little bit, but like, you know, you cook what you have and you're out when you don't have any more.
I think that's one of the things, like, I mean, we always like try to like make sure we credit Burnco with stuff around Tulsa. Like,
right.
That's what made, I mean, they have plenty of things that made them unique, but that's one of the things that was great was like fresh. Yep. It wasn't from yesterday. And I mean, and I see why people like meat's expensive. I understand why someone wants to serve that. We call it day 2Q. And like, we obviously don't. And that hurts sometimes when you have to toss. I mean, because you can only eat so much of it. You're tired of it. Give it to staff.
Well, now you know, instead of tossing it, just come right down the alley.
It's more rare these days because we're getting a little better and like we're not, you know, we don't have too many. So like, but I mean, last Friday it was like we had a huge Tuesday and a chill Friday. I
realized that because I left down the alleyway and it was Friday at like 1:30 and the parking lot was.
It's just really hard. Who knows?
Yeah.
So we try to just update like Instagram stories, like, hey, it's Friday at noon and we have brisket and mac and cheese.
Yeah.
And like usually by 12:30 on a Friday, you don't have mac and cheese for sure. And I mean, brisket we usually hold on to for quite a while. We have it. We make a lot. Or compared to other stuff.
How did you decide what your sides were going to be? Because you have grits, you have the slaw and beans, you have mac and cheese.
So yeah, we have the traditionals like the beans, the mac and cheese, or the beans and potato salad, slaw, which you kind of just have.
Cheese grits get me every time.
Cheese grits is like that's the one. Oof. Actually, when we went to Micklethwait, that very first place we went, they had jalapeno cheese grits, and I was like, oh, that sounds awesome. It was. And then we were gonna do that, and then we kind of went. You know, we took the jalapenos out just to be more approachable to more people. We were gonna even have like on the side you can throw them in if you'd like, but that was just inspired by how great those were.
So good.
I mean, that was the best side that I'd had in a long time. It's really that's a comfort food within barbecue. Like,
is it
to me?
Okay.
I mean, that's like cheese grits is like kind of like a wintry. You know, 100%. That'd be great when it's like kind of chilly outside.
Yeah,
but.
This is going to sound so stupid. I'm so excited for talking about sides. So I don't know if you've had Justin's collard greens.
I haven't.
Fucking hell, dude. I'm excited that it's now that season.
Getting there. Yeah.
Like it makes me happy. Like I had it for the first time. My old neighbors that lived across the street had them cater or like, you know, got the Thanksgiving stuff to go. And there's this huge thing of it. And I messaged him at the table. I was like, hey, dude, like, what is this? And what I love about the barbecue community, and if you've listened to all these, I've said it to everyone, is how approachable everyone is and how open with, like, what you would consider secrets. He just sent me his recipe for the collard greens. And maybe it's because I don't have a restaurant and I'm not competition, but it's like, you know, thank you. Like, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, everyone keeps a little bit.
Yeah, probably.
Tiny bit.
You have to,
Everyone
right?
keeps a little bit in their pocket that they don't talk about, but I think we could all probably guess what we're each doing. But I mean, the community thing is really huge. Like speaking of Adam and Justin, I mean, our first day Adam was there, brought us a bottle. I mean,
oh, that's awesome.
And then I mean, we've had to borrow wood from Justin. He's had to grab some from us before.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is like everyone. We root for each other, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, as much as like we all want to stay afloat, but at the same time, like, I mean, I think we help each other in a way too.
Yeah.
I mean,
so you and Justin were in the Texas Monthly, right? 1907 was in there as well.
Yeah.
I asked Adam this, and I didn't get the answer I was looking for, so I'm going to ask you.
We'll see.
Let's just take Tulsa for instance. When you're all cooking somewhat of the same style of barbecue, what is it that differentiates Oakhart from 1907 from Max from, you know, whatever that is? Because Adam's answer was, well, we're just Max, like we do things our own way. But in a broader sense, like you're all kind of cooking in the same similar style because you're all in the same city, same region. So what do you think is the differentiating factor between, because obviously like Carolina has their style, Texas has its style, Oklahoma, Kansas City has its style.
Yeah, and the thing, gosh, I wish I had a great answer, but I mean, really, it isn't. There's not huge differences. I mean, like Justin's a little more like he'll go out on the limb a little bit more.
He does the Mexican stuff sometimes,
like he's done some stuff like he's got a little more flair in that world, and I think we're more traditionalist. I mean, not that he's not, like he definitely nails the traditional as well, but we're just we just want to do the basics great and do it every day great. I think that's the hard, like this isn't answering your question at all, but it is one of the things that like, it's a grind. It's hard. Every day is a challenge. And if you can knock it out every day, even the ones you don't feel good or things are rough, like I think that's the biggest thing for me.
I get that.
Sets people apart. I mean, because we all do have rough days. Like 3 Tuesdays ago, I had a cook that was just, everything came out fine. It all looked good, tasted good, but it was just a struggle. Like I just could not get on track. And it's like, I think those are the days that you have to prove that you're a good barbecue cook, or that you care enough to like keep fighting through.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to describe it. You're just off time. Like stuff's just not falling right. And it's all like, time to wrap this, time to do this. It's all hitting at once. And your phone, like I'm answering emails about caterers. Like you know, like
you got to be a multitasker.
We're a very small team. And like the phone, that's what I like. Sometimes I have to like, I'll be back to you. I'm also cooking the ribs for this morning. And I'll like tomorrow I'll leave the pit, hit a cater, stay there till 1. Like it's just right now. Like if we get prices of meat back to where they were, I could replace that. I could take
for sure.
I could get another person, and they're super easy.
How much of your business is catering?
It's growing.
Is it?
For sure? Yeah. It really wasn't a lot for quite some time, but now it's getting to be. It's getting to be more substantial.
That's awesome.
And I know this holiday season probably will. Like last holiday season, we weren't really known. Last December, like, and that's the big month. And now we've had enough exposure now that I think this will be a pretty good one. And I love doing it. Stresses me out because that's who I am.
Do you also serve it when you're there?
It just depends. Yeah. But I'm by nature a ball of stress when it comes to like I want it to be great, you know. Like so I'm like driving there, even though I've checked the checklist twice. Like, oh god,
what did I forget?
Yeah,
you have
and
that feeling.
I know I've checked it all, and I'm just like until I get there and stop, I'm just like, and then it's just who I am, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it's the reason they're not screwed up because that's
sure.
It's good and bad, you know.
I think the reason I keep asking that question to everyone about what sets it apart is, well, it's twofold. You know, in the production world, like you almost have to have a differentiator because nowadays with iPhones being as fancy as they are, everybody feels like they can shoot their own video, right? And it's like, well, you can shoot video, yes, but we can do X, Y, Z. And like this is now becoming a virtual production studio. We'll be the first one in Oklahoma that's like fully virtual. So that's a point of differentiation. So I feel like I live in that world of like what sets me apart from my competition. But also I want someone to tell me it's the sides.
It can be the size
because I think
between us and Justin, we have similar. We both do cheese grits. I don't remember his beans. Oh, I do. We do a similar, but they're different. Like if I remember his, were a little more peppery.
I think so.
So we do. It's all like anything. It's all in the same realm,
right? With
a little bit more of this. A little. I mean, the thing is like you can go. We've had enough brisket in Texas to know like. We can go to 5 different places and be like, theirs was a little more, and this is a little more like that, and this cook was a little better, and this most people wouldn't, like that is true that like the average person who hasn't eaten 200 briskets or something, but I can pick it out.
You can tell.
I can tell sometimes, not always. For the longest time, I could tell there was something I didn't know what it was, and that was Lowry's all those years. Yeah. But I mean. I get how it would seem similar to somebody who you side by side them.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously I could tell, like say Justin's brisket, our brisket side by side, I could taste the difference big time, but I could see how someone wouldn't at the same time.
Even if it isn't side by side, do you think you could have yours and then drive down to 1907 and have theirs and taste, or does it almost need to be side by side?
I think I would notice the difference. Okay. But I should.
You should.
I'm around
it's your
it
baby, right?
Day.
It's your thing. Yeah.
But then again, this is another problem with just working and sleeping is I haven't had any of Justin's food in like quite some time.
I was going to ask, do you eat barbecue? Like if it's not
I want
at
other
work.
people's barbecue, yeah. I'd be into it. I just don't because right now, I mean, I don't want to sound like I work all day every day, but
it kind of sounds like it.
We don't work Sundays at all.
Well, that's fair.
So it's just that's kind of like catch up on.
And then you
life.
prep Monday for Tuesday.
Yeah, and we're cooking Monday. I mean, that's Sunday is kind of like do your laundry and clean up all the messes from the week But I mean, I would, and as we get more time, I totally plan. I haven't been out to butcher in 1,000 years. I want to go to Edgecraft in Oklahoma City.
I want to go there too.
All of them, all these things are on my list. I just need a little more time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd even like to go back to like DFW. There's it's crazy. Like that's the hot spot.
It's blowing up.
It used to be Austin, and now you don't have to go that far anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't even here. You can come here, or you
Right.
can go to Mother Road or whatever. But now, I mean, for the longest time, we drove to Austin. Now it's just like stop in Dallas, and you're good. There's plenty of awesome barbecue.
Really
in Dallas.
good barbecue in
Yeah,
Dallas.
tons.
I had some of it this weekend. I know it's towards the end of your day, so I'll ask you a few more questions, let you get out of here
you're fine.
and go get some
I'm
rest.
kind of awake.
Kind of going.
I'm okay.
So I would take it that by what you said about Franklin, that you're a fan of his. I was going to ask, how do you think like his influence on barbecue? Is it a good thing? Is it? I mean, eyeballs is always a good thing, but overall, do you view it as a good thing?
I think it definitely. I mean, from my perspective, I don't know. I've heard other people feel differently, but I mean, as far as the people I know, like he kind of helped make it cool with a younger crowd. You know, it wasn't.
sure.
And I mean, I think one of the things that comes up a lot is like his, like, oh, Aaron Franklin says this, like it's
You
only
have to
this,
do it
it's
this-
only this,
exactly,
like
yeah.
clean smoke, blah blah blah, all these different things. It's like, man, that's what like the like
Yeah.
kind of.
Because Adam's on the other side of like, it doesn't have to be 3-2-1 for ribs.
I don't think
doesn't
anything
have to be,
has to be anything.
Right.
I think that he did create such an awesome, like that brisket was, I'm sure, however many years ago, if it was that good 10 years ago, probably knock some socks off, you know? So
Yeah.
of course, like people want to do it like that. I mean, there's reasons why it works, but it's not that like other people weren't doing awesome barbecue before that. But I mean, I don't know the dude, but I mean,
Right. But he seems, I mean, he obviously knows what he's doing.
yeah, and
You
like,
know, he's successful. He has a James Beard. Like he's,
I think I mean, definitely it's been good for, like if you see his like Texas barbecue expanding good, then he's been great for it because I mean, you've got places in all over, you know, popping up all over that are Texas barbecue or Texas inspired barbecue. So I mean, I can't imagine. I can't think of anything really terrible, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know, other than just like if people like read the book and say like it has to be what
Gotta
he
be
says
this
in
way.
the book.
Yeah.
Like I mean, for instance, like the Lowry's thing, like you know he didn't tell you that, but I mean everyone's got their secrets, and
sure.
what, but I don't know.
I don't know what made me think of this, but when I was in Dallas this weekend, I was driving through, I think I was in somewhere between like Plano and Dallas-ish or something. I saw, and I'm going to tell you the name of this place, and I kind of am talking shit on them, but I didn't eat their food, so it might be spectacular. So this is not a judgment on their food. It's just by name only. I think it was the worst name of any restaurant I've ever seen in my life. It was Meat Anytime. That was the name of the restaurant. MEAT.
It's probably incredible.
Anytime. It's probably delicious,
like the
right?
best barbecue on the planet.
Probably like Franklin's side project or something, but it was the worst. And the logo was like an M and an A, and then the state of Texas. And I was like,
Yeah, that sounds like it'd be like incredible though, because you see that and like, yeah, it's probably like, it's probably the dopest barbecue ever. I think another thing on the Franklin thing is I think there's other people that we wish got some, you know,
that's probably a lot of it.
As much. Yeah. I mean, because it does appear to like people from outside that like, oh man, Aaron Franklin invented all this stuff.
Right. Barbecue wasn't around before Franklin had his show.
Yeah.
You know,
and there's plenty of people that inspired him, you know, and I'm sure and he's given them shine as well.
Who do you think's the godfather of barbecue? Who do you think is like
Oh gosh.
Is there someone, do you know a name? I just asked that off the top of my head. I don't know who it would be. Is there someone that was like the Julia Childs of barbecue?
Like back in the day?
Yeah, like old school.
I mean, well, you have like the old school places in Texas, like in Lockhart. You've got
right.
like Kreitz Market and stuff like that. Like, I mean,
probably some of those guys.
That's as old school as it gets. Like meat markets that turn.
I love those places.
Do barbecue as well. You know, like that's those.
I think you're probably right. Some of those guys
that just like you don't really know their name.
Hell, even Butcher's Barbecue, the guy's dad that runs Butcher's Barbecue has been around forever.
Dude, yeah.
You know,
he used to be on those like barbecue pitmaster shows and stuff.
Yeah.
We used to cook on Saturdays, and that was like one of the free channels on your TV when you didn't have cable would show all those like all day long. So by the end of that day, I was so sick of barbecue. I'd like watch that and cook a brisket all day. Those are the days when you cook a brisket at your house, and by the time it's finally done, you don't even want it.
Like, I'm not hungry.
You're like, I'm so over this. Like the heat and the smoke, and it's just like, and then you like like you go sit it down to rest, and you're like, I'm just gonna go to sleep. Yeah, because we're cooking on some
I'll eat it tomorrow.
some crappy little offset that like you can't leave it for like 15 minutes. It's either gonna be like 450 degrees or 10, and so you're having to just babysit it all day. It's like a
man. That's the thing. I was gonna ask your advice for like people getting into barbecue if they were gonna try it at home. I'll just give you a piece of advice before I ask you. Burn some fires without any meat. And just learn how to control your fire.
Yeah, that's huge.
Because
that's a big thing. Because like your peaks and valleys and all that. Like that's,
know when to put the meat on.
That's part of why a brisket is awesome. Like the control.
Yeah,
it's not.
Well, it's probably why you start the fire at 3. Because when do you actually put the ribs on? When do you put the meat on? Around 4, 4:30.
About 4.
It takes that long for the fire to peak and then to like get back to where it's.
But this is another thing that goes like against like kind of the grain. Plenty of people who do awesome stuff, they'll throw the meat on, start the fire. The dirty smoke is, that's
interesting.
That's another one of those things that's kind of a thing. It was kind of like an internet thing for a second. I mean, it still might be, but like, Franklin talks about the clean blue smoke.
Yeah.
And then other people are like, the dirty smoke isn't that bad. I mean, that's.
As long as there's not
like in the
12
first,
hours of it.
Like in the first few hours, like it really gives it a smoky flavor. And you can and then after that, burn clean. And because that's when it takes in the most smoke is in the first few hours of the cook, I guess. I mean, what do I know? You
just run a barbecue restaurant.
Hey, it doesn't mean I know that much. I mean, I just know what I do, but that's one of those things that I don't like. I remember telling my dad when he smoked, I was like, "Oh, this is too dirty. You need this super clean smoke." And I was like, "I don't think so." Because
just eat it. It's fine.
But that was like years ago, and I just like was reading or watching videos, and I'm not talking about dirty, nasty, billowing smoke, but it's okay to have. I mean, it's smoked meat. It's not. But meat anytime.
Yeah, it's just, man.
It's probably so good.
I'm going to have to go back and eat it now and give a fair review.
I'm going to look it up when I leave.
Yeah. But it was something. Progression-wise, as an industry, if you want to call it that, with barbecue, is there anything you see as far as innovation or as far as...
Where do you go from here now that everybody can cook awesome briskets?
Right. Like, is there something we don't know about that you're looking at or that you're pinpointing as like, what, that could be a thing down the line?
Not for me, but that's not really who I am, I guess, is like, I like a lot of old school things. Like, I'm getting older, so of course I'm getting all set and things.
Right.
I mean, I think, like, obviously, like you said, sides can be fun and you can explore those a little bit more. And that's something we like to do, but we're tight on time right now. But we will be experimenting a little bit more. Not on brisket or anything.
Sure.
But like,
I mean, you added baked potatoes, you added chicken every once in a while.
We had baked potatoes off and on. Those are expensive right now.
I don't know. I love baked potatoes.
We were waiting for I'll do it again once it cools off, but it's hard to sell. Like it's a hard sell when it's 100 outside.
Yeah, it is.
But we've played with some stuff here and there, and like we've always talked about brisket chili pie forever and ever, and just haven't done it yet.
Delicious.
We were gonna do a brisket meatloaf last winter. All these things like a smoked meatloaf, and
so would that be you grind the brisket and then make the meatloaf out of it?
Yeah,
because you couldn't keep it as like a
no. Yeah, it'd just be ground brisket.
Okay,
but will you smoke it and like get a bark on it like a brisket?
Yeah, that's what I do with my chili. It's not brisket meat, but I get ground beef and I make the chili, keep the meat out, put the chili on the smoker, grate, and the meat on top, and smoke it and let it drip down. Oh boy,
dude, we wind up with we have so much beef trim, it's just out of hand. Yeah. So we really need. That's why we're like always trying to think of something we could do with it. Like, gosh, it piles up.
You ever thought about? Well, I mean, I know Justin does hamburgers. You ever thought about using some of it for burgers?
We've done burgers.
Oh, I missed that. Okay.
Not in quite a while, but we've done them, and it seems like one of those things. Sometimes like people are there to eat ribs, they're there to eat briskets.
Fair.
And it's hard to sell a burger on some days. Some days you can. It's like I said, it's so unpredictable anymore. Like some days you have people first 3 in line, like burger, like they came for it, because we'd post up on Instagram or something. Then another day, like you could sell out of everything and still have your burgers chilling. Like it's true. You never know. It's really the only thing you can count on is brisket, rib, sausage.
Right.
The Trinity or whatever. But yeah, we'll definitely do some more burgers and things like that. Especially, I think as I feel more like playful with stuff when it cools off. In the summer, you're just kind of just.
I feel like you're somewhat playful with your sandwiches too, because you have was it the Mac Daddy?
Yeah, that it's pretty simple, but it's super gluttonous or whatever.
Which is mac and cheese on brisket, right?
and sauce. Yeah. And then we have one that's like kind of like the more traditional. Everyone's got a sandwich with coleslaw, but except for ours is all beef based. So it's beef sausage with brisket and coleslaw and sauce and pickles. But a lot, it's not a pork and slaw.
Yeah.
But, and of course, you can kind of make up whatever you want if you got ideas.
I have a go-to sandwich order there. I think every time I come, I get a 2-meat sandwich. Usually, I cook a lot of pork butts, so I try to order what I don't cook, right? So I get brisket and turkey. I love your turkey. So I get brisket and turkey.
I've heard that turkey is going to be almost like impossible
don't tell
to
me.
get around Thanksgiving. I mean, like for everyone.
Jeez.
It's getting, because they had the flu a little while ago with the chickens, and I heard like turkey's going to be low.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Get them now.
Yeah.
But I love your 2-meat. I pull the brisket off. I eat a turkey sandwich with a side of grits, and I save the brisket for dinner, and then I make a baked potato, and I just make 2 meals out of it. I love it. That's my go-to order.
I'm gonna start just making one that's like bologna with cheese and smashed baked lays on, or smashed lays like a 6th grade sandwich or something. Yeah, and just put that on the
white bread.
And just like get your and put it in a brown bag. Like, there you go.
I love that.
Take this off to school.
I love that
because like sometimes you just do random things because you're just like, I don't want any of this because it's just you see it every day. I mean, like I said, I eat brisket a bite or so every day, but I don't eat barbecue every day.
Right.
I taste test things, but
it would get old if you ate it every day.
Yeah, I mean, but it could be worse.
Yeah, well, that's a valid point. Yeah. Yeah. All right, 2 more questions. I'll let you go. Best bite of barbecue you've ever had? What would you say?
Everyone does this, right? They all do the deep breath.
It's like, oh man.
The hardest part is because you change. Your first
That's a great point.
The first one you had, it was like a clean. Like your palate had never experienced that, so you're like, oh my gosh, and you don't know if so if we could say it's Franklin or 2M or La Barbecue or all these places that we've all been to, if they would have been like any one of those, if it was my first bite of brisket or like a beef rib or something, that would be the one.
Yeah, maybe not best, maybe the one that stands out in your mind the most. Maybe that's a better way to phrase it. For whatever reason, could have been company, could have been.
Yeah, this is another thing that goes back to why we were so inspired by Texas barbecues. Everyone was so great. Like everywhere you went, consistency, awesome. Like you could tell everyone was really committed.
Yeah.
I mean, man, one of the best bites of brisket I've had was at 2M in San Antonio. I mean, and everyone's gonna say Franklin. I've had Franklin hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
Like it was pretty.
I've waited in that line.
It's good.
It's good.
And I don't know if it was because you were in line for 3 hours that it hit so hard.
Right.
But I mean, there's a reason it blew up like that, and it's not just hype.
Right.
I mean,
there has to be the basis for the hype to build upon.
Because at one point it was all people from Austin, but now it's like people all over the world. Like literally, people all over the world are in line with you.
Have you seen a bump from the Texas Monthly yet? From people coming up from different.
We did it at the beginning. The bumps don't last that long. Like they kind of like hit real fast, and then you get a little more consistent.
Yeah.
But every time something happens, you get a little bit of a bump from it. But as we're, like the Tulsa World one was huge because it was our first one.
Right.
So there's all these people that never heard of you, and it was like bang. And now they'll happen, and it's just not going to affect you as hard because I guess more people already know about you. But
it's a good point.
The best bite, man. Gosh, dude, that's so tough.
It's tough.
Nobody can answer. Like
that's tough.
Because I mean, the first place we went, like I said, was Mickleway, and having the jalapeno cheese grits, a beef rib, brisket. We had like an all beef sausage, I think, or maybe I can't remember that, but it was all.
Yeah. Well, this might be easier to answer. Last question: the worst bite of barbecue you've ever had?
Gosh, and I did hear what Adam said, and I'm gonna.
Do you think it's the same place?
I think it might be exactly the same place.
Do you want to say the name of the place? Because he didn't.
Okay. I can't because I just can't.
What about it was so bad? If
it was
you both
just bland.
say that,
it was like it felt like the meat was just thrown on take it out of the package, throw it on a smoker. Didn't taste seasoned or maybe even. I mean, because you can cook on a rotisserie smoker with no wood. I mean, it's going to heat up.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, gosh, that sucks to say that. And I don't even want to talk about like big chains or anything because that's a different world.
It's totally a different world. Yeah.
That's
the worst bite of barbecue I've ever had was when I was judging one of the Hasty Bake competitions, and it was the other category, which is always interesting. Someone submitted alligator.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It was white. And it had the pink smoke ring, so it just looked weird. And it wasn't seasoned well at all. And it was just rubber. And I don't even know how to describe the flavor.
And I would want to give it a shot, of course. Like someone want to try some alligator, but
I was the one that said I'll try that one.
That would be me.
Yeah,
Like, yeah. I think another thing that was disappointing about that experience is that, like, I think he might have mentioned this too. Is like kind of had some like high hopes, like, oh, I've heard really good things, and it just didn't
miss the mark.
Didn't happen, and it wasn't even like I don't feel like it missed the mark. I think that's just what it had become.
Interesting.
Maybe, you know, like things change, and what things that were great sometimes aren't down the road. But yeah, I definitely don't want to like hurt anybody, but it just sounded really familiar, and it could be a completely different place. But I mean, that's what's gonna bum you out, right? Like kind of like the food's not very warm. There's no seasoning, and they don't seem happy to see you. Like it's not gonna be a good.
That's a bad combo of things.
I mean, even 2 of the 3 would be rough, but or one. I mean,
or one of the 3. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because I guess
customer service is so big.
It is, and that's something that a lot of man, I don't know. A lot of places, even that we went to in Texas, nail it, man. They're having fun for the most part, you know.
It should be fun.
That's what like the part of the barbecue culture down there is like enjoying. Like, I mean, I think that's another thing you guys talked about is like the community, like the tables, and you sit with people you don't know, and it's not uncomfortable, and like you're kind of looking at what they got, and like if they're enjoying, you know, like that's part of what made it cool.
Yeah.
But beyond like the barbecue's great food, it really, I don't know. I mean, I don't know of anything that is like that. Another food thing. I mean,
I'm trying to think. Like,
feels more like drinking to me. Almost
honestly,
like
go sit at Fassler and eat some barbecue. I mean, it would
hang out.
Feels like it would fit there, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's what it makes the most. That's the most.
The easiest comparison or whatever.
Comparison, because really I can't think of. I'm sure there's something else, and there's probably plenty of unique.
I'm trying to think of like ethnic foods where you just like sit around and kind of dig in, you know.
And that's like big with like families, like actual real families,
right?
Like, but
with strangers,
it is a little different, and I think you'll see that sometimes when people like look around, like there's only this one spot right there, and they may not want to sit there, and ultimately they do, and like hopefully they end up meeting somebody or whatever,
liking the person they meet.
Yeah, and like that's another thing that we've noticed is like, you know, you over like we opened right dead center of COVID. Like it was not the great, you know, smart people don't open barbecue restaurants in a pandemic, but
hey, we opened this place in the pandemic.
Dude, it's rough. It was like, how are we going to do this?
It was awful.
Well, luckily, however you want to see it, we were already too far in.
I say awful. We do live streaming stuff, so it actually, COVID was good to us from a business standpoint. So it wasn't bad.
Man.
So we'll just say it was the same one as Adams. We'll call him afterwards and compare notes.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Because I forgot to ask him what the place was. So I don't even know.
Yeah.
I told you guys when we were doing the podcast, I was just going to ask him when we hit record, and I didn't. So I don't even know.
It's tough because you don't ever want to like.
Right. I never expect someone to be like, oh, it was Oakhart. You know, like, you don't want
whether they suck or not, it's still how they make they put food on the table at the house. Like it's like, so it's tough. And someone likes it. Like
someone did.
I mean,
the electricity's on. It's still open.
It is all very subjective. Like there's people who probably like think we suck. I mean, I'm sure that's how it is.
I mean, it's all right. Everybody's palate's different.
Yeah,
right?
It's just not for me. Like that, we all have that. And
I'll tell you mine. That's not the hasty bake one when we hit record. And I stopped recording because I don't want to do that either.
Yeah, I just don't have it in me.
You're fair. You
know,
so when can people come see you? What's your hours down there?
We are 11 to 3 or sold out. We are Tuesday through Saturday. So
don't come at 2:30 and expect to get a lot of food.
And if you do, I mean, if you follow us on Instagram, like if we'll post if we're sold out. Yeah. Sometimes we'll even post what we still have. So we're pretty good about. I mean, unless you get annoyed by a lot of posts because we are trying to communicate what we have and what we don't. But I mean, we're pretty good about posting. And on those days that got really crazy, of course, like it's like low stock warning, and then like 10 minutes later, it's like no stock warning.
Sold.
Sorry.
What is your Instagram handle for people?
It's just Oakhart BBQ.
There it is. You can go get some merch there too. It's a cool hat.
Yeah, we're about to get some new ones.
Are you?
Yeah.
I'll have to come try one of those.
Waiting for us to get it together and order another batch.
Good.
So
I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for coming down. Yeah, I'll be down the alley soon to eat some lunch.
Yeah, now I know who I'm talking to.
Exactly. All right, so week 3 in the books of barbecue month. I was going to say, almost said Justin Thompson. He's already been on.
Dude,
Justin
I
Carroll.
almost shaved a mustache and just rocked the Justin Carroll look today.
You could have.
I did it once, and somebody thought. So before we go real quick, I worked on Philip's truck at Tulsa Brisket Company a few times while we were in between. He helped me out because I didn't have a job, and so I did shave a mustache and went there and turn my hat backwards. So I was like, I know you. You work at the other food truck too, right? And it's like, no. But it was I didn't do it to be just. Funny. I just that's just what I was doing that week. I was having fun, and I was like, okay, probably not again because everyone thinks.
Does that make Adam the Metro of the barbecue world because of his hair?
Well, it's just because he has hair.
Oh, maybe that.
I think that's.
And I say that lovingly. That wasn't a slight.
If I had hair, I'd probably do something cool, but I don't have much.
The one thing I noticed sitting across from him, I don't even think I said anything, was you have a good head of hair, man.
Yeah, if I had as much hair as he did, I'd probably get haircuts and stuff. I wouldn't shave it myself at the house. So I'd be right there with him. And if I had the patience, I'd grow a beard like that too. I've had them.
Yeah, he's got a good one.
But you gotta do some work on that. You can't just crawl out of bed and
you gotta have the beard oil and all that stuff.
He comes in a little bit later, so he has time to do that. But
I'm gonna tell him he's not working quite hard enough. Then
no, I think he's working hard enough. He just doesn't. I just can't. I can't blow dry a beard at 2 in the morning. I just can't imagine.
Well, maybe when you hire your new person, you'll have time to do that.
I'm getting a little lazy for the beard world too. That's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Go down, see Oakhart. It's delicious stuff. Get whatever you want, but definitely try. Well, real quick, if someone's coming in for the first time, you would recommend they order what?
Dude,
what's the go-to?
I mean, everyone's gonna do brisket because it just is what it is. It's, I mean, I would go ribs and cheese grits.
There you go.
And man, you can throw a little brisket in the grits, hit it with some sauce.
There it is.
Have a little bit of fun.
Chris, appreciate you, man.
Yep, thank you so much.
I said that weird. Appreciate you, man. That's what I was trying to say.
Much appreciated.
It's late, right? It's just one of those words are gone.
Yeah, it's all right.
Justin Carroll next week. We'll see you guys then.